topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome, Orlando, to another Ask the Experts, where we bring you the top experts in the areas of home improvement, legal, health, and financial. And we had gotten so many requests from our viewers and listeners to bring in a public insurance adjuster. There are a lot out there, but there's not a lot of great ones out there. We were able to find one of the greatest, not just in Orlando, but throughout Florida. Let me introduce you to our new expert, Albert Labrador, and he's with Labrador Claims Consultants. Good afternoon, Albert.
Good afternoon, Steve. Thank you for having me.
Oh, we are so glad. June 1st, hurricane season started, and I think we're going to have a rough year. And we don't wish that on anybody, but you know what you do, Albert, and we're going to explain to people what a public adjuster does, because a lot of people might have heard of them, but they don't know what you do. So let's first let's talk about your company and your background.
Well, we're a public insurance adjuster located in Central Florida in the city of Orlando. We've been in business since 2004, and we have helped countless of homeowners with their homeowner claims, hurricane, mold, water damage, all kinds of claims in the Central Florida area mainly.
And you also do smoke damage and fire too, right?
Correct. We do windstorm, hail, water damage, mold, vandalism, fire, all types of homeowner and commercial claims.
Well, you know what? I got to first tell you, Albert, just the fact that you've been in business since 2004 shows that you are doing a wonderful job, because, in your business, there's so many of these companies that I call them fly-by-nights. They're in business one day and the next day they're gone. And I look at how long you've been around. It's amazing. Now, we just had our second text wanting to know, what areas of Florida do you cover?
We typically cover Central Florida, Volusia, Orange, Osceola, Polk County, in that area of Orlando, of Central Florida.
Okay. Does that include Tampa or no?
We'll go to Tampa if it's a claim worth going, but we have associates that we can recommend over there. But yeah, we can handle claims in Tampa.
Okay, and I guess the same thing with South Florida. If a hurricane was to hit South Florida, there's going to probably be a lot of claims. You can help somebody with their claims in South Florida, or that you can actually or tell them about another company in South Florida. Is that correct?
Correct. No, during 2005 with Wilma and Katrina hit in South Florida, we handled a lot of claims out there. When I worked for an insurance company back in the early 90s, it was based out of Miami. So I have a lot of clients in South Florida.
Well, Albert, you just told me something. You've actually worked on the other side of the table too.
I did. I worked for two of the largest insurance companies as a field adjuster. I also worked as a team manager for many years. So I know how the insurance companies work on that side of the fence.
No wonder you're so good at what you do. Tell people what a public adjuster does.
Well, basically, a public adjuster represents the homeowner against the insurance company. They'll go to your house and they'll look at your damages. And the first thing they should do is review the policy. Review the policy to make sure that what happened to your house is covered under your homeowner's policy. Because there's a lot of stuff that is not covered. For example, termite damage is not covered, or settling of your home typically is not covered under your homeowner's policy. So once we establish that you have a covered loss, as we call it, then the second obstacle that we have to get over is it worth pursuing the claim? Because many times you have a claim that's only $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, and you got to look at your deductible. And if you have a deductible of $1,000, $2,500, at that point, it's not worth it for you to submit the claim. So once we establish that you have a covered loss and you have enough damage that we feel is worth it to submit a claim, then we can, we write an estimate, we report the claim to the insurance company, we meet with the adjusters, we handle the claim from beginning to end, and we make sure that you get properly compensated for your loss.
You just said something, Albert, that also reminded me. So you mean to tell me if someone has a claim that's only $3,000 or $4,000, you're going to tell them that, and it's just not worth the money to go after a claim like that. So you're being honest with them up front.
You have to, because the way the insurance companies are right now, my opinion, if your claim is not over $7,500, over $10,000, honestly, it's not worth it for the homeowner to submit a claim, because they're going to raise your rates. You might run into the risk of getting canceled. And we've lost 4 or 5 insurance companies last year, and it's getting harder and harder to obtain insurance. So you want to make sure that you have a claim that's worth pursuing before you submit it to the insurance company.
Why do you hear many times, Albert, that maybe the insurance company only offered you $4,000 or $5,000, but they hired a public adjuster who got them $25,000 or $30,000? How come there's such a big difference?
That happens all the time. What happens is that insurance companies, they send out a field adjuster out there, and many times those field adjusters, either they're not trained properly, or they don't have the knowledge to estimate damages. So a bulk of our business is people calling us on the back end saying, "Hey, Albert, I had a claim, and they send me a check for $4,000 or $5,000, and I can't do the work for that amount of money." And many times we'll go out there and we'll look and we'll agree. At that moment, we'll write an estimate, we submit it to the insurance company, we ask to reopen the claim, and many times we're able to obtain the right amount of money for the policyholder, usually without having to use an attorney, to get it done quicker, with less cost for the homeowner.
We just had a viewer saying how much they are enjoying the show. They want to know, though, is it the insurance company? Is it to pay you the least amount possible?
Well, insurance company are there to make a profit, like any business. The more they pay out in claims, the less money they make. So it's obvious that they're trying to pay as little as possible in order to settle claims. Many times they try to strong arm a policyholder, and I've seen it. Strong arm a policyholder, bully a policyholder into taking a settlement, and that's not right.
I got to tell you, I owned a house about 20 years ago, and had some major water damage. It ruined the tiles in the floor, and the insurance company did not want to replace the whole kitchen floor. They wanted to piecemeal it. That's what I called it. And not knowing any better, I almost accepted it. And a friend of mine said, you ought to bring in a public insurance adjuster that might be able to get you a lot more money. And I was so close to signing it. And this is in Dallas, and a public adjuster came in and said, no, we can't match these tiles up. They know that. They have to replace all the tiles, not just the damaged ones. And I got to tell you, ever since then, I tell people, you got to get a public adjuster.
Well, that's correct. They have to pay you for line of sight for continuous flooring. Many times the cabinets, they only want to pay you for the lower cabinets if they were damaged. They don't want to pay you for the upper cabinets. We see that all the time. The same thing with roofing. They want to pay you for a section of the roof, and now you have a checkerboard roof, and that's not correct. So that's something that we fight for the homeowner. And when we first started, it was educating the public, because back in 2004 there were many public adjusters in Orlando. So when I told them what I did, they were like, "Really? Is that legal?" I'm like, yeah, I'm licensed. I'm able to do this. So I was able to build a book of business, first of all, by educating people that I can reopen that claim, that you don't need an attorney, because many people don't want to use an attorney for many different reasons. Right. They don't want to sue the insurance company. It takes too long for whatever reason. And I tell them that we can do it quicker at a lower cost. And so it was an educational process to build my business, our business, through all these years. But yeah, there's a lot of people that don't know that they owe you for the carpet or the wood floor or the tile in the other bedrooms that are continuous through the house.
I want to give you an example of something that bothers me. If I have a leak, a bad leak, I don't know who to call. I have no idea. Are you allowed to assist someone, give them 2 or 3 names of people to call, or do you still have to do it on your own?
No. Many times, person will call me, tell me, Albert, I have a leak in the kitchen, but I don't know where it's coming from. Well, the first thing I ask them is, have you called a plumber? Well, no, I haven't called a plumber. Well, do you know a plumber? No. If they know a plumber, then I tell them, call your plumber.
Right.
Find out what's going on, and then let me know. In the meantime, send me a copy of your policy. Let me review your coverages. If they don't know a plumber, I can recommend 1 or 2 licensed plumbers.
Good.
That will go out there and they will look to see what's going on and tell me, Albert, this is what's going on. And at that moment, we can make a determination whether it's covered, and again, whether it's worth it to pursue the claim with the insurance company. Yes, we can recommend vendors. We have to recommend licensed vendors with the state of Florida.
You must pull your hair out when you see some of the insurance policies that people have signed that really didn't realize the language in the contract until something happens.
It is funny because people over the years tell me, I've read my policy and I know what my policy says. You know what? I've been doing this for over 30 years and they change all the time. And you have to get each and every endorsement and you got to read it. And those policies are made by attorneys for attorneys. And in one part of the policy, they're giving you coverage, and in the back end, they're taking away coverage. And now more and more, you have endorsements, you have exclusions, you have limits on water damage, you got limits on how much it can pay you for the roof. We're paying more and more on our policies, and we're getting less coverage every time.
How sad. How sad. Here's another text that just came in. Love the show. I listen every week. I would please ask your guest about mold and mildew.
Okay. Well, the insurance company, your policy typically covers mold. There's some insurance companies that specifically exclude mold, but most of them do cover mold, but it has to be from a covered loss. For example, you have a pipe leak, the pipe breaks, and it causes mold, that is covered. But if you have mold that is naturally occurring because your AC might not be working properly and it's causing mold in your house, typically that kind of mold is not covered. So it has to be from a covered loss, a roof leak, a plumbing leak, something of that sort for it to be covered. And typically you have a $10,000 limit on mold coverage on most policies, but there are a couple insurance companies that specifically exclude mold unless you add it to your policy. That's very important.
Albert, I think we keep hearing a lot of homeowners insurance companies are going out of business in Florida. And I think the more companies that go out of business in Florida, the more the ones that are still around can hike up their rates because you don't have a lot of choices anymore. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. I'm getting calls all the time from clients. Albert, my policy went up $1,000, $2,000. And I tell them, keep it. You have no choice.
Yeah, really.
Unless you have a brand new roof, unless your roof is less than 10 years old, then you might have a choice. But if you have an older roof, you don't have much choice but to stay with a company that you're in. Sometimes I tell them to increase your deductible. That might help with reducing the premium. But it's getting harder and harder. Policies are going up. And like I said, we're getting less coverage and we're paying more.
Well, you fight with insurance companies all day long for your clients to get more money. How long does it take once you file a claim and for them to actually pay you off?
Nowadays, a typical claim takes between 60 and 90 days from the beginning, from you reporting the claim to concluding the claim, between 45 to 60. Some companies will take you all the way to 90 days. They just delay until they pay. But the good thing now is that statutes have changed. The statutes have changed in the state of Florida. So before, the insurance company had 90 days. So some companies will wait until day number 89 to send you a check. But now they have up to 60 days. And that's starting July 1st. So we're hoping that claims will get turned over quicker starting July 1st.
They sure want those premiums right away, don't they?
Oh, yeah, they do. They'll send you the cancellation notice right away.
No. We start off the show saying this is now hurricane season. And one of the things we're going to be doing with your show each month is preparing people for a hurricane, things to do and things not to do. Let's talk about some of the things to do first.
Well, before the hurricane comes, you should, the storm is coming, you should take photos, take videos of your property. Make sure you can show how it was before the storm hits. Make sure you have your policy handy when the storm hits. And of course, you should have the essential batteries and candles and food and all that, water, just in case the storm hits. Those are things that I recommend for people to do before the storm hits.
I think one of the things that we're going to also be doing, Albert, is telling people what they should get as food, batteries, candles, whatever, because sometimes, we don't go through hurricanes very often. We do seem to get prepared for them, but I think we kind of let our guard down. Especially here in South Florida, because they'll tell us a hurricane's coming and it never reaches. So people kind of get lazy about it. So we want to talk about all the things, maybe your show next month, that they should make sure that they should have as their hurricane supplies. Sounds
good. It's funny you say that. As a young kid, in 1979, Hurricane David was coming to Miami, and it made a turn everybody, boarded up and everything, and it made a right turn and then hit Miami, and everybody was disappointed. And then when Hurricane Andrew came in 1992, everybody said, "Oh, it's not coming. And then at the end, we figured out it was coming. And man, it came and it came hard. And we all learned about it. With Andrew, we all learned how bad a hurricane can be.
Andrew was the worst hurricane down here, wasn't it?
In South Florida, Miami, yes, 1992.
Wow. We just, this is kind of a strange question. We just had a gentleman who is a public adjuster, and Sophia just gave him your phone number. He's down in Houston, and he wanted to know if there's ever a hurricane. Are you licensed in Texas?
I am not licensed in Texas. I am only licensed in the state of Florida. I heard adjusting claims in Texas is equally as hard as it is in Florida.
Of course, because they get hurricanes. Also, they're on the water.
Yeah, and they get those hail claims. They get golf ball size hail all the time. I mean, they get storms all the time.
Well, I don't know if you've gotten any calls for claims, but we just had we've already had a couple tornadoes here in Florida.
We've gotten calls for the recent hail storms that occurred in Kissimmee and in Orlando in April. So we've been handling some of those claims. But every day we have water damage. Every day we have kitchen fires. Every day a water heater breaks. Every day a plumbing line breaks. So that's what keeps us busy. Praise God. There's always something going on, and there's always an insurance company not treating their customers right.
Yes. Let's talk about, we're talking hurricanes. What are some of the things not to do?
Well, many people, what they do is they immediately hire a vendor, because when a hurricane hits, you get a lot of people knocking on your door. Roofers and contractors wanted to do work, and people are desperate and they sign contracts. And we don't recommend signing any contracts with any roofers to do any permanent work. If they want to come in and do some emergency tarping, possibly. But again, those people those vendors, they don't know about your policy. They don't know what you're covered for. You might not have coverage for what's happened. Your deductible might be too high, so you might be signing a contract and signing your rights to that claim. So we don't recommend that. We don't recommend you throw away items before it gets inspected by the insurance company. We don't recommend to do any permanent repairs to your home before the insurance company comes to your house. Those are some of the items that we don't recommend. We don't recommend you calling the insurance company right away. Wait until the dust settles, couple of weeks, unless your home is really in bad shape. Prepare your home, protect your home, wait a couple of weeks, call a public adjuster to make sure that you have a covered loss, make sure that you have coverages, make sure that you have enough damage. Then submit the claim.
Albert, have you ever seen somebody that came to you that settled with the insurance company but felt like they were treated unfairly, and they came to you? Is there ever a way you can reopen a claim?
Yes, like I said before, a lot of our work is reopen claims where folks get a check. They see the amount and they see the amount of damages, and they say there's no way that I can do the repairs. So we'll go to the house, we'll look at the estimate, we look at the damages, and a lot of our business is reopening those claims and going back to the insurance company, requesting a reinspection, and going out there and selling these claims. That is the majority of the claims that we handle, because a lot of people, like I said, don't know about public adjusters. They call in the insurance company, they get paid, and sometimes they just don't know where to go after that. So we're able to help a lot of those clients reopen claims and get them paid properly, and even denied claims, because sometimes they deny a claim improperly, and we're able to reopen those claims and get those claims paid for the homeowners.
Well, we just got a great test here. This person, I guess, owns a restaurant, and there's also a restaurant next door to him. And he just said, I'm so worried that they're going to have a plumbing leaks and it's going to come into his restaurant. And he said, I'm glad now I have a name of a company that is trustworthy. You do handle businesses too, right?
Yes, we handle a lot of commercial claims. And I recommend for that person to send a letter to that neighbor advising him of the plumbing problems. Put them in notice. We handle liability claims against, like sometimes we handle liability claims against the owner of another business. If they're negligent and damage another business, we're able to help with those claims as well.
And sometimes you just have to take them to court, don't you?
We can recommend attorneys that'll work on behalf of the homeowners, but that's always the last effort. We try to handle the claim until we can't handle the claim anymore, and then at that moment we advise the insured, listen, you have two options: either go away, or we recommend an attorney, and we leave it up to the homeowner or the business owner to make that decision.
Hey, Albert, how do you get paid as a public adjuster?
Well, we charge a percentage of whatever we collect for the homeowner. Typically, it's from 10 to 20%, depending on the type of claim, depending on the complexity of the claim. Again, if we don't collect any money for the insured, then there's no fee, no recovery, no fee.
Even though you've done all the work.
Correct. But we've been very successful in obtaining funds for the homeowner. It's what I tell people, even at 20%, I tell them the 80% that you're going to collect with me, it's going to be more than the 100% that you're going to collect on your own with less headaches.
Well, before we end the show, and I want to give everybody the phone number is 407-733-9997. That's 407-733-9997. For the ones that are listening on radio, if you've been watching on TV, we've been scrolling the number throughout the show. But I'm telling you, I'm just from somebody who knows, don't try to handle this yourself unless it's like Albert said, it's $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, because you can really, you don't know what you're doing. Trust me. And Albert knows the cost on all of this, and he'll come up with things that you on your own would have never thought of. And you're dealing with insurance companies that their main goal is to pay you the least amount possible, and they're very good at what they do. So you should have somebody on your side also. Again, the name of the company is Labrador Claims Consultants. They're public insurance adjusters. 407-733-9997. Albert, first show, great job. And you will be back with us again next month on the Ask the Expert.
I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much for having me.
Great job, Albert. Thank you so much. Wow. Folks, we got to get ready. It's hurricane season. And I am telling you, I don't want this to sound like a commercial. Our shows are done to educate you, to show you the best companies that are out there. So let's please, again, if you have a claim against the insurance company, give Albert a call. That's it for today. We will be back with you next week with more Ask the Experts.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.